Service providers say they are battling to continue providing food to the schools they supply, as they haven't received payment from the Department of Education. Some say they are owed payment from last month, while others say their payments are in arrears from May. The organization says many service providers are battling with high debts and some face having their properties repossessed.
We've been feeding continuously, irrespective of the challenges that we've been facing of the non-payments. We've been feeding, doing everything that we can, going to the loan sharks, making loans, overdraft, credit card, you name them. We've been doing the best we can, but we have exhausted all our avenues now. We have come to a situation whereby we can't anymore.
The association is accusing the department of dragging its heels and pleaded for payments to be speeded up.
It's a grand national program. As we are speaking, we have fed July, feeding August and September. The batch of paying July, August and September was paid by national to provincial treasury a long time ago. So we shouldn't have issues, let alone June, May and April and the previous. That it should have been sorted a long time ago.
The department conceded that there has been delays with payment, but says the delays were also due to incorrect claims.
We are intervening as a province as we speak. There are measures that we have put in place to process those payments. Some will receive their monies early next week and graduating into late next week, but it's a matter that it's being attended to, and we are in talks with the association. So we don't foresee a situation where there's not going to be provision of nutrition to our learners come next week.
Last year, millions of children in the province went without food for weeks after a single service provider, which was awarded the tender, failed to meet its obligations. This was a deviation from the national system, where local providers from communities supply fresh food and groceries to school kitchens. But that tender was scrapped and the program reverted to the old system. I'm Nomarashiya for SABC News in Durban.
For more now on this story, we're now joined by Provincial Secretary for the South African Democratic Teachers Union in KZN, Nomarashiya Caluza, for a more to unpack this further for us. Nomarashiya, thank you so much for your time this evening here on SABC News. Of course, just looking at that story, one would say that it's quite concerning, when it comes to children and the fact that they might not even get their meals tomorrow.
Yes, good evening. Yes, indeed, when you talk of something that has to do with children or learners, it must be a concern to everyone, including parents and community members. And to hear that there are threats of not providing that meal, that important meal to the kids is quite concerning. But I must say that as the union, when we got this information, we checked with the department. We think that what will be important is for both parties to use the dispute resolution mechanism that is there, because they know how to deal with this without threatening learners, because at the end of the day, we all know that this meal is very important, especially on our work as teachers, because for us to be able to effectively teach in the classroom, our learners must fully concentrate, and having that meal is very important.
And I was about to come to that. I mean, when it comes to the impact here, it's quite severe, because some children only rely on this meal in schools, and if they don't get this meal, teaching and learning may also be interrupted.
Yes, you are quite correct. It's exactly like that. And that is why, as the union start to have always made sure, in fact, even for its introduction, this school nutrition program, it was also informed by our colleagues, teachers, because of what we're observing. But we must say that what is important was we also engaged our principals to check the extent of this non-payment that is claimed by service providers. We are confident that many schools will be able to feed, and those that have disputes, those service providers that have disputes, as there are not many, they will have to engage the department. It is important for the department to ensure that once they receive claims, they are able to pay timely. We do not want our learners to be interrupted. We do not want teaching and learning to be disrupted by this, because we know, as we are saying, some of them only get a meal once they are given this one by their schools or in their schools. So in the absence of that, it means they will go hungry or on an empty stomach for the duration of the day, and they can't learn effectively. It becomes problematic.
And Nomarashiya, it also brings me back to, just last year in KZN, there were problems there with that one service provider that was expected to provide, food, supplies to all these service providers in the province. And it takes me back to that, because one would say it seemed as if there seems to be a struggle here when it comes to, trying to ensure that this operation is being run seamlessly by the KZN Education Department.
Yes, indeed. It was quite concerning last year, and we did raise our dissatisfaction and our disappointment on how this issue was handled by the department last year. But we are confident now with how things are done, because as we're checking with the department, the information we got there is that out of more than 1,700 service providers, in June, there were only 12 that were not paid, and 34 the following month. So it means the majority are getting paid, and that is why even the few, we know that even if they are sick, they are serving schools, and if they are not paid, of course, it will impact on how schools are able to provide this important meal. It is always our prayer as teachers, as we don't get involved on who gets appointed to be a service provider. Ours is that every service provider that is appointed by the department must put the interest of the learner before everything. And that is why most of the time we've been saying it's more like there's politicizing of this matter, but also the issue of putting profits before everything. If we all, including service providers, can have the interest of the child, they will be able to find the most amicable way of attending to the grievances or the disputes they have, including the department itself, making sure that when they receive these claims, they pay. But when claims have challenges, they have to be attended timely by the service providers and the department. And I want to repeat, we do not get involved in who gets appointed. We also not have interest as to which service provider serves where. Our interest is on ensuring that our learners have food every day, so that our work can run smoothly, so that in all schools there's quality teaching and learning.
And Nomarashiya, speaking about the department, they are contending to some of the challenges that they may be facing when it comes to these payments, and they are saying that they will ensure that, come the end of the week, that these payments will indeed be made. Do you trust for sure that, service providers, will be paid accordingly by the end of the week? And this is the message coming out from the department.
Because it's them who pay, and we don't have any intentions to be the shop stewards of service providers. I want to repeat, our interest is with the learners. So the department will have to make sure that they comply with the dates or the time frames they've given to ensure that they pay, and that will translate to the smooth operation of the school nutrition program in all schools.
And if, meals are not provided for in schools this week, like we are seeing here from these associations, as SATU, what will you be doing to make sure that, this operation is done? And of course, this food, which is meant for millions of children in the province, is indeed, delivered to the necessary school. What will you be doing to intervene in that regard?
Our intervention, of course, will be to ensure that we engage with the department, the head of department and the MEC, for them to fast track the process, with the MEC having to monitor the implementation or adherence to the timeframes by the department. But we think that at some point the department will have to share with the general public as to how far deep is this problem they are currently facing, so that we know what we are dealing with, especially because we are teachers and we are in this school. So it's important to prepare for the eventuality, because we don't know what will be happening. But I'm saying if the department can come out clear to say these are the service providers, so many have not been paid, and this is the plan of how we're going to pay them, so that the general public can understand the extent of this and also prepare. But ours is to ensure that and we engage the department, the head of department, engage with districts, so that if there are any documents that are still remaining at that level, they are pushed so that they can be paid by the head office.
All right, Nomarashiya, thank you so much for your time, ma'am, this evening here on SABC News. That is Nomarashiya Caluza there. She is the Provincial Secretary for SABC in KZN, and of course adamant there and saying that, of course, they are hopeful that those payments will be made and are being optimistic that children will have their meals within their schools, as many rely on this meal which they get from the Department of Education.